Hey guys, it's Ben with Myers Woodshop, and in this video I'm going to show you how to cut out this sign, Gather, on the Onefinity CNC from start to finish. Let's start in Vectric. We start a new program in Vectric, and then we import our X and Y values, how long and wide and how thick of material we have. We're going to open up the SVG. I have this available on my Etsy shop if you want it. I just chose Gather because we're going to cut Gather out. Once we bring it in, we're going to click on Align. So we click on the item and then Align tool, and we're aligning it to the center of the board. Now it's too big, so we're going to resize it. We're going to guess about 80% here. And when we resize, it is just about perfect. So we're going to move it down to the bottom of the board because we don't want to waste material. And we're just going to click on it. We're going to click on the move arrow. And then I use kind of drag it down, and it kind of snaps to the center with a line. And that's about where we want to start. So now we're ready to get into toolpaths. So we're only going to be using one type of toolpath called the contour, but first we need to select what we want the contour to cut out, and we want to cut out the inside shapes first. You always want to work from inside out. So I'm selecting all the little vectors after I've ungrouped the whole SVG. I select all the inside parts, I hit contour. I am going to change what bit we use. So we're using a 16th inch bit. I kind of edit the settings here and hit OK. Then we're going to change this to be called inside cutout, so we remember what this is. When we hit continue and we preview, we can see we've cut out all of the inside pieces. Now we're going to go back and we're going to hit contour, and this time we're going to contour from around the outside, because we don't want to cut the inside of the piece, we want to cut the outside. When we did the inside pieces, we used inside. Now the outside is going to need some tabs. These are going to keep the material from popping out and while we're cutting. So I've added 4 tabs here. They're about 1/8 of an inch deep and 1/8 of an inch wide. And I try to put it in the parts that would probably snap. So we're naming this the outside cutout, so we can remember which one it is, and we hit continue. Then we view all the profile cuts, and here you are. You can see a preview, and if you zoom in close, you can see the tabs that we put in there. So this is what we want it to look like, and we did the toolpaths correctly. Now we just need to save them. Now we go into Save Toolpath. We're using the same toolpath for both toolpaths. So we're saving it as one toolpath, and that's because we used the same bit for the whole thing. We also select Onefinity as the post processor, and we save that to our desktop. So now we're on our desktop. We've logged in remotely because we connected it to the internet. So this is what it kind of looks like. And we're going to hit open on load the toolpath, and this is what I have on my desktop. We chose Gather Cutout, and as we choose it, it will start simulating our toolpath so we can see what it's done. And you can see it loaded the 3D view over there on the side. And then we can zoom in, we can zoom out, we can see exactly what's going to happen. The green is where the cutter is actually going to cut. The red is the rapid movements. Then we have the cone, that's kind of the yellow, and that is where our bit will start. And we have buttons on the side to change the view. You can see we changed it to front view. We can take off the XYZ starting point, and then we can take out the cone, the bit, and then we can take out the bounding box. We can also make it larger with the expand button. So you have a really nice toolpath preview to start. Below that, we have all the G code that is going to start, and we can see what's going to happen. So we're ready to start the cutting, and we're just going to preview the G code real quick. Everything looks really good. It's pretty long, but that is all our G code. So if we go up to the top, we can see kind of the state. We can check our webcam, and we are ready to go. All right, so I'm in front of the Onefinity, and now I'm gonna have to change out the bit because I have a 1/4 inch bit and we need to change that out for a 1/16. We have a bits and bits bit. We are gonna use the 420 DNC062LR. It's a long reach bit. It is the only 1/4 inch shaft that I have that's a 1/16, and I'd rather use that. And everything else I have long reach, but it is an 1/8 inch shaft. So we're gonna put that in and change it out. So I have the spindle in here. So we're just gonna take out the bit that I have in. And we're gonna swap it out for this bit. Get it pretty snug. And now we have our correct bit. All right, next thing we need to do, we need to secure this to the workplace. And because I haven't made my threaded wasteboard yet for this, I'm just gonna brad nail this straight to it. This is a junk piece of wood to me on the outside. I am reusing it. So I'm gonna be cutting it this way, and I'm gonna start about here with my Z and X and Y. That way I avoid all these holes. So I'm gonna put it on my wasteboard. I'm gonna move the Z back, and I can do that with the touch screen. So the touch screen is giving me some options on how far I wanna jog. I'm gonna go 100 and Y plus. And I just got that out of the way. Now I'm gonna get my brad nailer, and I'm just gonna brad nail it directly to the tabletop I have here. I'm gonna do one in the centers in the back because it was pretty bowed. So there we are. Next, we're gonna home the machine so it knows that the machine is up here. And over here on the control panel, I'm just gonna hit the X, the little home button. And it will automatically move over to the side. There are no switches or proximity switches. It's gonna do something where it touches the side and it senses how far over it can go. And then we're gonna do the same thing for our Y. Again, it's gonna bring it all the way front, touch the front, know how far forward we can go, and know that that is home. Now we'll home Z. And there's homing of the machine. Now we can just move it over and make our X, Y, and Z over on this point. All right, so now I have a few different ways to jog it around. We can use the touch screen. So if I wanted to move to the right, I can move it like this, move it back, move the Z down. I can use my phone. I'm logged into it. You can see here's the phone. And this is the whole operating system, exact same thing that's on the tablet. I'm now logged in over here, and if I wanted to, I can use the phone to do the same thing, which is really nice. And if I wanted to go it even bigger, or you have the option to jog it around with a gamepad. So I'm just using the remote. So I actually really like the gamepad. It's really convenient, really fast, pulls it up. This is my method of preferring to control it. So I'm gonna move it over to the X and Y, and then we'll probe with the Z. So I've moved over X. I'm gonna move Z down. And let me zoom you in and see how I do that. So I'm just bring the X down so I'm pretty close. And I can control the speed at which it moves with the gamepad. So I'm gonna move it right over to here. Now, since we're just cutting out a shape in the center, it doesn't really have to be super exact. So I'm not too worried. And we're just gonna call it about there. So we're gonna come back over here and we're gonna push the little 0 with a dash through it. That cancels out the X. And that zeroes out the Y. You can see the positions are 0. So now here is the 0. And if I did move anything away and I want to return to that spot, all I have to do is hit the inside button here and it brings it right over to return to the X and Y 0 that we've set. Now we're going to do the Z. So we're just going to move it over to above position right here. And I have my probe. This is the Triquetra P3. That's what I have for now until Onefinity puts out theirs. So we're just going to place that right underneath. We're going to take the magnetic end and put it on to the spindle. You can see my Z is a little too far down, so I've got to raise that up. So I'm just going to raise that up to about here. So when it comes down, it touches this corner and I can fit it under there. All right, once I have that in place, I'm going to move the Z down just a little bit more because it's kind of far away. And if it probes from too far away, it won't do it successfully. So I'm pretty close. I'm about 6 millimeters away. So all I'm going to do is touch probe Z, and it will bring the bit down and probe. It does it once, then it does it twice, more accurately. And now that's our Z plus 19.383 millimeters. It's moved up. So we now know where our Z is. So we can remove our probe. We could leave this where it is right now, but I always like to start over where the Z is going to actually start. So I'm just going to hit that return to X and Y. And now we're in the starting position. And if I hit this Z0, comes down right to the 0 point. So I'm going to move it back up because I don't like to start right real close. And now we're ready to load our file. So earlier we loaded our file, so all we're going to have to come do is scroll down to gather cutout, which we already have loaded. We're going to hit the play button and it will spin up my spindle. If you don't have a spindle, it will do nothing with the spindle. You'll just have to turn on your router and then it'll start cutting. Now I have an extra step where I'm going to put the dust boot on. You're not really going to see so much the cutting because I don't want dust everywhere. So let me set up the dust boot, and that way I'll be dust free. So to set up the dust boot, you just unscrew these and they move up and down. Move that little piece so it'll slide through. We're going to put it all the way in. Screw that down and put my back piece on. I'll grab my vacuum hose and insert it here. And that's our dust boot. Okay, everything's prepped, and my dust boot doesn't go down any further than this because you typically want a 3/4 inch MDF wasteboard below whatever you're cutting. So this is about as far as I can go down if you're gonna cut directly onto the material here. So that's why I have a little bit of gap. So right now, all I need to do is push play, turn the vacuum on, and we'll be good to go. All right, the file's loaded. Got my ear protection on, even though I have a spindle that's still loud when it cuts. We're gonna hit start. It asks me to hit continue when the spindle is up to speed. So we're just gonna hold there. We should hit 1800 RPM. I can see it on the screen, 1800 RPM. It shows that. It also shows it on my VFD. So we hit the right speed. So we're ready to cut. I'm gonna turn the vacuum on. I'm gonna bring you in and you're just gonna watch it cut. Alright, so we did 2 different tool paths in one file with the same tool, but if it was a different tool, it's asking continue when the spindle is up to speed. So it changed the tool at this point. We don't need to do that because it's the same tool, so we just hit continue and it'll start cutting. And there it goes. So during this, all the while, I can pull it up on my phone and see what it's doing. I can see the G code that it's working on as well. And it also gives me how long it's going to take, estimated time remaining, what day, what line, and what percent. So that's on the phone, on the tablet, and on the computer. Alright, I still had to wear these even with a spindle, but we finished our cut. You saw that it came right back to the corner when it was done, and this progress zeroes out at 0. So let's move over. You did see my fingers kind of pull out the little bits. The dust boot was a little too high to actually suck those little bits out, so I was a little worried they were going to get caught, so that's why you saw my finger pulling them out. Normally you'd have a MDF wasteboard there and it would probably suck them out. I don't like to use little tabs on the little things because they're really hard to get out. So let's move over the camera, move over, check out how it cut. So we're just going to use the remote to jog this out of the way. We get a good look at what we cut. I did use a down cut bit, that way the top would be really smooth, and it is. I did get a little too close to the gashes on the bottom that I was trying to avoid, but that's okay. This was just a test. So here's what the cut looks like. Super buttery smooth. Except for that one little gash, and it ripped off the piece, so that's a bummer, but we'll fix that on the next cut. All right, once I suck the dust out, I can now look in there and see the tabs so I can cut them out. I'm not removing this piece because I want to cut right above it. So if I took it off, I'd have to put it down right back. where it is, but you can see the tab right there and right there, and we have 2 over there. So I'm just gonna get in there, cut them real quick, and pull that piece out. Since I don't care about this piece, it was just a test piece, I'm just gonna try to snip it out so I can show you generally how it came out. All right, I think that got it. So let's pull the piece out. Still caught a little bit on the G, but here's our gather. So that came out pretty nice, really clean cut. We did have a little bit of a chip out over there on the edge, I think. But everything else came out really nice. All right, so here's our gather. Came out really nice. Really simple project. Just brought in an SVG to Vectric, brought it over to the Onefinity via the computer. I didn't even use the USB because I haven't networked. That's the benefit of plugging into the network. Again, you don't have to do that, but it is the benefit. And we cut it out. I showed you how to home the machine. I showed you how to zero the machine and how to probe Z. You can probe X, Y, and Z. I just didn't do it in this one because I didn't need anything very exact. And I am using 1/4 inch material. And the probe has about a 1/4 inch, and I don't trust that too much when every plywood that says 1/4 inch isn't exactly 1/4 inch. So that is how we cut out a little shape, along with using the socket dust boot on the Onefinity, and it did a great job. Hope this helped. Hope this helped you out with Vectric, checking out the Onefinity from start to finish, and I can't wait to see what products you make on it. Happy cutting!